everyone, and welcome to the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Black Ocean Network Media for the 21st century. I do trust that everyone is really doing okay, considering that we are on the first day of the week, and I'm talking about Monday. So if you might be battling with the Monday blues, trust me, if you are given an option, there is no alternative. There is no alternative in cutting Monday to be the beginning of the week. If Tuesday was the beginning of the week, if Wednesday, Thursday, and any over these other days of the week, what to begin the week, trust me, you'll still be hating them or be loving them. But of course, what I do love about Mondays is that it is a great opportunity, which means that it is a new week for you to go out there and try and do something better for yourself. Every Monday, that is every new week, it means that you have been given that other opportunity to go out there, fix yourself, and get to prove to the world that you are more than what meets the eye. Karibuni sana. This is the Calmie African Diary Show. I just actually am super, of course, happy to interact with the family. But before that, to those who are watching the show, we really get to appreciate you. To those who are also listening to the show, that is watching and listening, we appreciate you. And to those who are on their way, to run the errands of the day, because I do understand we do have actually a time difference. So this is the time that, for example, in the diaspora, this is the time that you gotta go out there and do a few things, just to keep the day going on. We got you covered. You can still get to watch this when you log in onto www.blackoutfirenetwork.com. And once you are logged in, you can proceed, get to watch some of these episodes that you did get to miss. And still, when you are logged in, you can proceed and get to enjoy the amazing music that gets to play on Blackout Fire Network Media for the 21st century. Still, on the Blackout Fire website, you can get to enjoy the amazing blogs that are there. Remember, every day it is a learning experience for you. And we also got you covered with the great music that gets to feed your soul some positive vibrations right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. And last but not least, you can also get that is to contribute and support the network by simply logging on to www.blackoutfirenetwork.com. Karibuni sana. At Derek Askew, you've said black fast. Definitely, thank you so much for tuning in and keeping it the Calmie African Diary Show. Remember, we are coming live to you from the Nairobi studios, all the way from Africa. So, of course, feel free to shoot that question. Maybe it could be about Kenya, it could be about just anything. Feel free. Of course, positive things. We really appreciate that. And today being on the first, today being on the 1st of February, it is a month that gets, to bind us together. And this is simply because it is the Black History Month. And being the Black History Month, I'd love to, give a shout out to some of the amazing people that is in the Black community who actually, if it were not for them, then I think slavery will still be here with us. Of course, we do have the modern slavery, but I'm talking about way back when it was actually worse than today. And at some point, I'm like, I cannot imagine myself, maybe being shipped from my home to another country I do know nothing of, the crazy conditions on water, people dying, people just doing everything there. I mean, it was quite hectic. And today, being the Black History Month, we really would love to take to give one round of applause to every Black man there, to every Black woman out there who stood out of their way and did what was supposed to be done. I'm not talking about sellouts, but I'm talking about those who really knew the value of our Black brothers and sisters. Of course, to their family, that is because they definitely do have some of their descendants. We really do hope that you are continuing with what that is your great grandmothers, your great grandfathers did, and also to us who are maybe afraid, to go out there and air our voice. I believe every great dream begins with a dreamer. So you have to be a dreamer. And just on that, always remember you have within you the strength. So let nobody tell you that maybe because you are petite, you do not have just anything. You can't just be out here, making noise that is trying to bring change, irrespective of your size, irrespective of your education level. You still can move the mountains. And just to continue with that, and remember, you have within you the strength. That is what I was saying. You have the patience, actually, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. That is just a great quote by the one and only at Harriet Tubman. And we all, of course, celebrate Harriet Tubman because of course, she was an American abolitionist. And what we actually get to remember her about is that she escaped. She was born into slavery. That she didn't tell herself that because I'm born into slavery, I should cling to this for the longest time possible. I should just continue living. I should actually get to give birth, to my children, and they have to continue the same system. No. This is one African woman who said enough was enough, and it is high time I get to walk into freedom. Not that she didn't know that freedom was coming with its expense. She knew the challenges of being caught, and of course, sometimes we ever wonder, was she ever caught? During her that is during her period of being a political activist. Well, rumor has it that she was never caught. There is a court, and she actually never lost. She never lost any of the people that she freed from slavery. And just to continue, she escaped, and she had met some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people. And I'm talking about including family and friends, using the network of anti-slavery activists. Of course, let me say kudos to the one and only Harriet Tubman. Of course, we do have other, of course, amazing people out here who really went out of their way, to ensure that the black community was given that opportunity, that freedom, to think for its own, that the black mind was no longer a prisoner anymore. And that is what we are celebrating today. That is the first of February. The year is 2021. We are celebrating the likes of even Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman. For example, in Kenya, we do have Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai, she is also the late, and she was also she had won some Nobel Prize some time back, and this was because she was amongst those people who were fighting for a better, in terms of securing our environment, in terms of securing that is our environment, peace, and she was very active in the politics. We are having some little bit okay, we just had a blackout, but just to continue with that, with that, remember, we are celebrating some of these political activists who really went out of their way to ensure that we had a better Africa. We are taking a short musical break, but when we will be back, we'll get to continue with the show. Welcome back to the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. We are, of course, having a little bit of a mess up with the electricity. They are just on and off, and I wouldn't want to risk any of the electronics. But of course, just to continue with the show, remember this is the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Black Hot Fire Network, and we were just commemorating some of the leaders who actually went out of their way to ensure that the Black community we didn't get to live in that situation whereby we believe that we cannot do anything for ourselves. But they stood up, they ensured that the Black mind was forever free. Today we are celebrating once more the Black History Month right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. And of course, it is celebrated all over the world. It is good to be aware of that. And also, one thing that did get to strike me, the moment that we hit February, I've actually not witnessed, I've just realized that now most restaurants actually have come about with the packages. They've come about with all these, Valentine's packages, as if people don't get to remember that love gets to exist. But I've seen, different restaurants coming out and about with, of course, let me just get this. We are back. I've seen a different, of course, restaurants are coming back with, all these, awareness, with all these Valentine's, packages, just to show people that Valentine's is around the corner. But I would love to tell us one thing in terms of all this Valentine craziness, that at the end of the day, you know that love exists, so you do not need anyone actually to remind you of that. And with the Black community, you get to celebrate these Valentines, not even digging into, the right type of information. Why is it that this is celebrated? Why is this, happening? But we just, just following blindly. But then again, be on the lookout, because you wouldn't want, you to be caught up with that. But just moving on from that, I see at Mirantis. Okay, didn't really get to understand that, but thank you for tuning in. And remember, family, today being on, of course, a Monday, what actually did get to happen over the weekend? So over the weekend, it is alleged, remember we have been talking about how actually since students resumed school, they have been very, very chaotic. To start with, we've seen the surge in dormitories being banned. We've seen the surge with the violence. We've seen the surge with the use of marijuana, the use of different drugs. And just to continue with that, so over the weekend, there was this famous, of course, high school. And, as a head boy, this is why I actually hate being given a role, to be like a monitor, a head boy or head girl, things like that. Because students expect you to be always on their side. Students expect that you should always favor them, irrespective as to whether the thing that they are doing is good or bad. That is how it has been. That is how it has been for most, that is how it has been for most prefects out here, that you need to always side with the students. Now, what actually happened here is that this head of school, that is, I'm talking about the head boy. So he was aware of a planned strike that was set, to take place around the school premises. And, the teachers love it when the head boy is a little bit more of a snitch. That is when they get say that, the school is now, that is, the school system is now working properly. So this guy went to the, he went to the, of course, to the teacher in charge, or maybe the teacher on duty, and reported of a planned strike. Remember, I've just told you that students actually love it when you are in charge, that is, when you are a prefect, that you get to actually help them do all, that is, cause all the chaos in the school. But when you are a snitch, it becomes a danger for you. And this reminds me sometime back in high school that we used to have this head girl who used to even tell us to kneel down and walk on our knees. Remember, you are walking on your knees, and this is a Maram road. So you can imagine how by the end of that, that is walking on your knees, by the time you reach your class, the way your knees are hurting, the way that entire week is going to be chaotic for you, just because the head girl thought that you were late for class, that you should walk on your knees to class. Well, at some point, it reached a point whereby water was poured on her bed, dirty, all those dirtiness in high school. I don't want to talk about them, but all of it, she found her bedding just wrapped into that, her box stand upside down. So if she had water and all that, it was all over her clothes. Now, just to sum up on that, so this head boy went ahead and, of course, exposed the students. And the student didn't take it lightly. They actually indulge in what you call the mob justice way of teaching him a lesson. And of course this head boy risked his life, because later on he was rushed to hospital and he was brutally injured. And we're just waiting, for the result. Of course, we're wishing him good. But what I want to say here is that, at some point, some things, yes, you can report to the teacher. But being so mean to your fellow students, it gets to cause that, of course, environment whereby hatred now begins to grow. That is the update of what happened over the weekend. But I am not siding with the fact that students should ban schools. If anything, that is a total loss, because you get to see that it is just a few rogue students that get to plan that. But once you are sent home and you report to school, everyone, even if you didn't participate in that strike, you are charged some fee. It depends. Maybe the dormitory was banned. You can't imagine all the things that were in there, your personal stuff and things like that. You can't imagine how hectic that's gonna be. But right now in Kenya, we are experiencing a surge in dormitories being banned by students, students stabbing teachers. It is on the rise. That is, it has not actually even been happening over the weekends also, but during the week. Kid, how you say, did you do it, Calmie? Okay. Kid, I didn't. Well, let me just put it. The worst I've ever done was just pour water on her bed, because, okay, low key. I did low key pour water on her bed because she was becoming like on my neck. One point I had to like frog jump actually from the dining hall to my class, and it was almost a distance of a kilometer. Studying in the rural areas, the compound is so big, so for you to frog jump, to from the dining room to your class, almost a kilometer. You can imagine how you get to feel. And there's also this time I was just silent. Actually, I remember I used to love sleeping, during the evening preps, because I'm just so into sleep. So the class was making noise, and everyone, whether you were sleeping or not, you had to go outside, and it was on a rainy day. So, kid, you can imagine on a rainy day, you have no a sweater on, or we call it you have no cardigan on, and so you can imagine you're being rained on because maybe your cardigan was dirty and you decided to wash it and it rained, or it has not dried. I mean, she was just a little bit mean. The worst I did was pour water on her bed, just one bucket, that's all. But she never knew it was a meme, because there was just a lot of people on her hate list. And this actually gets to tell me that I can pull up by haste, low key, and get to emerge freely. Of course, not that I'm thinking about that, but this is just to say that these things have been happening, and most of the time it is the prefects in charge that gets to push the students, into such a situation. But moving on from that, thank you so much to everyone who is tuned into the Calmie African Diary Show. Remember, today it is the 1st of February. That is the Black Awareness Month. We have talked about that. And I really appreciate everyone who is watching the show, everyone who is listening to the show. And to the family, remember, we do have some amazing package for you, in that we do have, of course, the Tanzanian tour. That is, we will be touring Dar es Salaam come the month of April. And perhaps you might be thinking that April is a way far. No, we have done with the 1,001 days of January. I keep saying that January seems to be the longest month ever, because that is the month that even if you get to call your parent and ask them, mom, I need like a refund or something like that. I mean, it's never going to be. I mean, it's not going to happen, because they'll tell you that they are also doing bills and things like that. But folks, we are here on the new month, and the things are really turning out positive. And I'll have to tell the family that do not wait for the last minute for you to be like, I want to join the team. This is the time to go out there, do the survey. You can get to Google online about, Dar es Salaam, about Zanzibar. And trust me, what you'll get to see there, you do not need to miss that, of course, bandwagon of joining the Black Hot Fire family all the way to Tanzania. Personally, I'm super, of course, thrilled. And I've been telling you part of the reason as to why I would want to go to Tanzania, that is Dar es Salaam. It is because for the fact that I loved the culture of the Tanzanian people. I loved the culture of the Tanzanian people. It was, of course, quite amazing. They do have some unique Swahili architectural designs. They do have, in terms of even artwork, there's just something so unique. There's just something so that gets to calm you when you are in Tanzania. It could be in terms of their culture. It could be in terms of, we say that Watanzania ni watu wakarimu sana. Just to say that Tanzanians are really, humble people. They're not like, in Nairobi, everyone is shouting. In Nairobi, almost everyone is shouting. Everyone is just doing their business. But in Tanzania and Mombasa, I realized that people are just a little bit, slow. We call it mwendo wa kobe. Sometimes the Swahili teacher will get to tell you that, but mwendo wa kobe is just a tortoise pace that people get to walk, slowly. They do not want that, to just be in a hurry. That is how it is. So you can get to at least calm a little bit down when you are in Tanzania, get to figure yourself out, get to have that you moment with yourself, get to have that bonding, get to take yourself to greater heights. And that is what we will be, of course, getting to explore once we are in Tanzania. Now, family, remember the topic of the day is in regards to deforestation. I do understand that you get to understand that deforestation is becoming quite, if I may use the word, a menace, in Africa. And when you were celebrating some of that is the Black heroes, that is in terms of the Black History Month, I've just talked about Wangari Maathai. She is, of course, she was, because she is the late. She was the late, of course, in terms of environmentalist. And this is one lady, even when she died, she insisted on being buried on a casket that is made of bamboo sticks, actually, as a way of preserving nature. Well, at least she really did a lot, she really did a lot that is for the Kenyan environment. And at some point, the issue with deforestation wasn't on the rise. But, sadly enough, when you get to leave, that is to leave a legacy, on higher chances, people got to be just afraid, to continue with the legacy that you did get to start with. And apart from being a very great environmentalist, I've seen some streets have been named after her. Some even parks have been. There's a park in town, in Nairobi town, that has actually been dedicated to her. We also do have that she actually tried to fight for peace. And this is a lady who was, she started actually this activation back then in the year 1960s, because she was born in the 1940s. So you can imagine the opposition that she did get to go through on a daily basis. And she was just also mobilizing for peace on earth, because to her, or rather according to her, peace on earth depended on our ability to secure our living environment. That was what she was all about. And today we are talking about deforestation, because deforestation is becoming an issue. If you get to stand on the road, let me use, of course, Nairobi, and maybe stand on the roads, taking a look at some of the products that are transported outside of Kenya, maybe to Tanzania, maybe to, just different African countries, or to a prestigious company. You'll get to realize that on most occasions, it is the timber that is on the rise. I'm talking about huge timber. I'm talking about huge trees. You can imagine some of these trees, that is some of these unique species of trees, they really take time to grow. They really take, of course, the time to grow. But of course, people do not people are not, of course, they're not serious. Let me just get this. Okay, people are not serious in, of course, in preserving, that is, our environment, and as a result, some trees will become extinct in the next, of course, in the next maybe that is maybe in the next maybe 10 years. Because let me take I'll give you an example. For example, in deep into the forest, that is, I'm talking about the rainforest, we do have trees that actually take 30 years to grow. And you can imagine, when a tree takes 30 years to grow, it makes it more vulnerable, because it will mean that getting products out of it, they are going to be quite long lasting. And when a product is quite long lasting, I'm talking about the likes of beds, that is furniture in general, the market price is going to be so high. And people will not hesitate, to go into the forest and get these trees. Remember, this is a tree that takes even 30 years. Some even have been known to take even 100 years to grow, that is, to reach full maturity. But sadly enough, we are the same people who keep cutting this down. And I'm talking about the tropical, that is, in the tropicals also, it is becoming quite an issue. And we get to forget that cutting down some of these trees, we are affecting, that is, in terms of a rainfall distribution, we are affecting that. In terms of some, that is, because some of these trees, they are a habitat to animals, we are affecting that. And I would love to say that one of the countries that are affected by, that is the lumbering of trees, some of the actually African countries that are affected by this, I'm talking about the likes of Congo, the likes of Nigeria. Actually, it is believed that Nigeria is highly affected by deforestation, and deforestation gets to affect Africa in terms of the climate change. And if I may take a little bit in time, last year we have been stressing on climate change. Not only does industrial affluence get to affect the weather, but also deforestation gets to affect the weather. Let me put it this way. For example, you go to, you get to cut a tree, maybe you cut tree such that you can create land, for people to inhabit that land, or you can create a land, that is to either indulge into farming. For example, in Kenya, we do have places like in the Mau Forest. In the Mau Forest right now, I'm going to share with you some images. In the Mau Forest right now, people have actually, people have actually inhabited that forest. And this is one of the biggest forests. And we did have some eviction, of course, people told to evict from this forest. But of course, sadly enough, some have. But just to remind you, is that the owners who have actually sold land to the people are politicians. Because for you to have access to a forest that is a government forest, let me call it a government forest, because it is a resource that the government should be taking care of, then definitely the people in the government are the same individuals who go ahead and get to sell that land to the people. And when it reaches the time that the government is conducting surveillance on different government properties, so it gets realized that some of the forest, it is inhabited by people. And just to continue on that, a changing land use from forest to crop, actually it reduces rainfall. Because this is just because 50% of 50% of the trees around that have been cut, they get to affect the surface temperature. And that get, of course, to affect the formation of rain clouds. And I was still taking you a little bit back in time. For a matter of fact, last year we did get to experience, some weird weather change patterns. There was a lot of rainfall, even months that we shouldn't be experiencing rainfall. This year, January, when it started, we were experiencing rainfall, and January is a month that is more like it is a dry month. That is how it is, how we call it around here. But to our realization that there was rainfall at the beginning of January, there was rainfall at December, during December, there was rainfall at November. And yet we want to talk about global warming. Yes, I can say that even the issue with I can proudly say that also the issue with industrial affluence to the atmosphere have highly contributed to this. And I'm talking about some of the industries that have been set up in in different African countries. For example, you wouldn't help but notice that in different African countries, people from different European nations have actually opened up their factories to run in Africa, because Africa creates a great environment for them to open up this industry. Also, Africa gets to to be its market. So as a result, Africa is the market. Africa is the place to do almost everything. You got to realize that setting up these industries, it is cheaper also, because at some point the license is not that high. So as a result, you've seen that also industries have contributed to this. But just to continue on the deforestation part, because they actually go hand in hand. It is believed that 90% of West Africa's rainforest has been destroyed. We are not talking about 2%, you're not talking about 3%, but we are talking about 90%. If you take a look at the charcoal business in Africa, you get to realize that influential people in the government are aware of what is happening. I'm talking about members of parliament, even just different politicians. Charcoal business is a boom in Africa, because for you to sell a sack of charcoal business, depending on where you are actually selling it. A charcoal a bag of charcoal actually goes for approximately $12. Actually, yeah, $12 you get yourself a bag of charcoal. So you can imagine, that greediness that you want to have as much money as possible. So you can imagine how many trees are going to be cut down for you to satisfy yourself, and also for you to satisfy the consumer market. We've had, of course, different solutions towards deforestation. For example, the issue with coming with organic products that you can't get to use. I'm talking about energy savers, exactly. The use of making firewood from cow dung, and as a result, you can't get to create, rather generate energy. But most people, they will rather go out there and get to consume charcoal, because they believe that that is the way forward, for ensuring that. They believe that charcoal is way better than using something that is more of energy consuming. We are taking a short musical break, but when we will be back, we'll get to continue with the show in regards to deforestation. Let me know your views regarding that. Perhaps you have witnessed this, but if we are not keen as Africa, in the next few years, we will be of course talking about a drought. We will be talking about that is a drought and famine. They actually go hand in hand. We'll be talking about that. We will not be able to feed the growing generation that is on the rise, because they say that on a daily basis in Africa, if 20 people get to die in Africa, 100 people are born. So you can imagine the ratio is quite so high to those who are born. So it needs a lot of course, land. It needs rainfall, because most farmers actually depend on rainfall. They depend on rainfall, to be able to cultivate. They depend on the rainfall, that is the ongoing and offgoing. Most farmers actually would rather not depend on irrigation as a way of getting to farm their products, but they depend on rainfall. And I see at Mr. LBN Karibu Sana, you've said the Eurasian way of life needs to be to be shunned on a global level. It's nothing but destruction of Earth for power. That is for power dominance and control. They are truly detached from nature. Wow. Suddenly we are adapting their ways. Absolutely, Mr. LBN, I really concur with you on that statement. And it is true that we have taken their ways. Right now, we as Africans, instead of preserving our environment, instead of preserving, our the way Mother Nature has gifted us with, great things. I'm talking about our environment, because Africa is rich in terms of agriculture. It is only in Africa whereby you can get, to enjoy agricultural products. Hi to you too at Mr. LBN. You can get to enjoy agricultural products in peace, because on most chances it is organic, but you have gotten to employ their ways. As a result, we get to cut down our trees and get to go out there and sell it to them, because that is they are our market. Sadly enough, they are our market, and we get to sell it to them. So that is the sad situation. We're taking a short musical break, but when we will be back, we'll get to continue with the show in regards to deforestation. And thanks to everyone who is tuned in. Remember, this is the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Black Fire Network, media for the 21st century. Welcome back to the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Black Fire Network, media for the 21st century. I do trust that everyone is doing quite okay, and everyone is doing quite well right here. Of course, to the Black Hot Fire family. Of course, I'm super thrilled to get to interact with the family. I remember today we are focusing on deforestation, which is becoming quite a menace in Africa. That of course we are destroying our environment just to satisfy the market, and of course on most occasion products. I'm talking about furnitures. For you to have a furniture that is highly durable, you have to source it all the way from Africa. I'm talking about destroying forests like the Congo forest, forest in Nigeria, different tropical forests in Cameroon. They have been destroyed because the people are making millions of money from deforestation. Not that I'm telling, or not that I'm encouraging you to join the deforestation thing and get to relocate and get to sell as much as the timber from Africa to the diaspora. No, all I'm saying is that let us get to unite. That is to unite together and shun this once and for all. Yes, I understand that the poverty levels are on the rise. I understand that putting food on the table is becoming quite a task. I understand that employment is becoming an issue. That right now, even if you are a degree holder, even if you have finished your master's, even if you have finished your certificate, on most chances, you're still going to stay home and get to wait for that employment unless you get to create your own employment. So as a result, people have opted into, the black business. And that is why we do have the natural habitat for animals being destroyed. And in the process, some of these even unique animals, I'm talking about the likes of gorillas, I'm talking about the likes of, pangolins, being shipped abroad, the market being Russia, China, because people want to bag in some paper, that is, bag in some dollar. But we are forgetting what will be the representation of Africa in the next 10 years. Some of these animals that we are talking about today, the likes of elephants, the likes of lions, well, that will become extinct in the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, maybe your grandkids, maybe your kids, they'll just be able to see these animals in the documentary that was recorded years later. They'll be able to only see these maybe in from the forest. So you can imagine, because I do understand we do have that section of people that actually do believe in taking herbal medicine. Even if you tell them go to the hospital, they'll still tell you that there's this so and so herb that they have heard about, and they believe it actually gets to work for them. And this is actually very common, especially amongst the Maasai people. Trust me, right now I get to leave the student that just get to tour around the estate. I'll see them working with we call it akibui. Akibui is just a jerrycan filled with herbal medicine, and some which is even grounded, and they get to sell it. And trust me, people buy it because some of these products are found deep in the forest with some unique species of trees. So you can imagine, if we keep on with deforestation, how much we are going to benefit. We're not going to benefit anything at all as Africa. And soon enough, we will end up being the laughing stock. Remember, we are talking about deforestation, but we are of course almost coming to the end of the show. But let me just get to understand this. Why do we have a deforestation in Africa? I've talked about the issue with employment. I've talked about the issue with creating space for human development. Because I've just given you an example that if 20 people die today, that is in terms of this is just something random, but of course the figures are close. If 20 people get to die today, 100 babies are born. So you can imagine how much you need in terms of maybe in terms of resources, in terms of maybe the house is too small and you need to relocate and buy another house, that is relocate to another piece of land. You can imagine how that's going to cost you. That is why we do have people living in the Mau forest. And in the Mau forest, this is whereby you get to encounter all types of wild animals. But they have been able, to know how to survive. These are places that if you get to go live there, maybe let's say, for example, in the Mau region, they say that the huge number of individuals who get to live there. Okay, I do not want to be a little bit to sound like indulging into tribalism and so on. But there is a specific tribe that gets to live there. And from time to time, for example, during the post-election violence, we did get to witness clashes. And if you were not of that tribe, you would have to relocate to where you were born. And so you can imagine you were born in that Mau forest, but because you're not from that tribe, you have to relocate. And some of the big names in the 254 in Kenya were actually perpetrators of this. They were the same individuals who got, of course, to sell them these pieces of land in the forest. And so the reason as to why we get to indulge into that, poverty has also contributed to that. But I wouldn't want to say that poverty, I just do not want to blame poverty on everything. I mean, gone are the days when you just have to sit home and wait for the government to call you, or wait for any, company to call you for work. You have to go out there and tarmac it your own way. And if you're not lucky enough, then you have to come back home, at least get to know something that you can do to generate income on a daily basis. So, for example, in Kenya, we did have there was an eviction letter by the court to individuals who get to reside in these small forests. And trust me, these people actually have title deeds. The title deed was given to them, and you can imagine this is a government land. So you can imagine who gets to do this. It is the government itself. So they have title deeds. The land was allocated to them. They were even allowed, to practice farming, to live there. But now we did get to have the eviction. Where do you have to start from? This is somewhere you have backed in, you have paid in a lot of money to get that piece of land. But as a result, because you are a nobody, you have no title, you have to like evacuate. But just to also tell you such that you can know that the Kenyan rather judicial, that is the in short, the Kenyan law is quite wavy, because we did have some politicians who had set up some great rental apartments. Trust me, they were not demolished, but because you're just in just a simple house, you're just a nobody, you do not have anyone to like represent you. Or even if you have a lawyer, how does that lawyer, how is he or she going to compete with the government? The houses were demolished, and if you tried to like oppose them, It's a hitch. Sorry, we did have some slight hitch earlier on, but we are back on. And we are talking about, earlier on, we were talking about deforestation. We were talking about how it has that is highly affected Africans. But just to continue about with that, of course, we are finalizing on that because we are almost coming to the end of the show. Is that I believe it is the role of the government to come about with ensuring it is the role of the government to ensure that it is the role of the government to ensure that it gets to create as much awareness as possible to ensure that the people do not get to indulge in deforestation. And also I do believe that it is the same role, it is the same role of the government to come about with the penalties, penalties that is a harsh penalties to ensure that if anyone is caught indulging in deforestation, then definitely the consequences should be much hard. That is, the penalty should be much hard than that. It could be in terms of the number of imprisonment, or rather, it could be in terms of the number of fine that should be that is imposed on individuals who get to that is indulged in deforestation. And also, I do believe, because right now we are always advocating for a better Africa. We are advocating for the fact that in terms of justice, we are advocating that justice should always take place irrespective of who has committed that, of course, and who has committed that crime. And talking about justice, before you do come to the end of the show, right now in South Africa, it is quite hard on Jacob Zuma, because right now, the judiciary system, all eyes on him, because they are trying, they're trying their best to ensure that he gets to go behind bars, because recently Zuma had even hired, some private investigators, to cover his tracks in terms of the corruption that he had done during his presidency. Zuma also had paid some lawyers and judges, paid even newspapers not to taint his name. Well, they say that whatever has a beginning definitely must have an end, and Zuma, I think he might go down the drain. And I think it is high time that if you're a politician, whether you are the president or whomever you are, and you have finished your term, let us welcome you home and congratulate you for the work that you did get to do. But let us now open that judgmental book and get, of course, to make you answer for some of the problems that you had, of course, that is during your power, or rather during your regime. And of course, let me just get to read your comments before we get to wind up the show. At Mr. LBN, you said, all right, all day since, okay, that is not. Okay, I think that is between Keith and Mr. Albion. But of course, thank you so much. You did get to tune in to the Calmie African Diary Show. Remember, it has been quite amazing interacting with the family. We have finally come to the end of the show, and we keep saying in Swahili, kilicho na mwanzo definitely kina mwisho. Yani, whatever has a beginning must definitely do have an end. And Matt shouted, that is to Keith for creating this platform, at Mr. Albion for tuning in, at also Mr. Merintis, but I didn't quite get what you posted. At Derek, of course, much peace to everyone who did get to tune in. And remember, for those who did get to miss this particular show, you can simply get to log in onto www.blackoutfirenetwork.com. And once you are logged in, you can proceed and get to watch some of these episodes. You can also proceed and get to enjoy the amazing music that gets to play on the Blackout Fire Network. And last but not least, the blogs that are lined up there for you. Remember, the reading culture does not stop, irrespective of the education level, irrespective of who you are in the society, because knowledge is power, and knowledge on earth, it is quite amazing. On a daily basis, you get to learn something new. And last but not least, you can also get to donate to support the network. We highly get to appreciate that. Remember the Tanzanian Dar es Salaam trip that is set to come on the 12th of April, and the year is 2021. I'm not talking about next year, but I'm talking about 2021 right here on the Blackwood Fire Network Media for the 21st century. Do have a great and amazing day. And my name is Calmie, and this has been the Calmie African Diary Show right here on the Blackwood Fire Network Media for the 21st century. Do have an amazing day, if I may say that. Do have an amazing day, and keep it the Blackwood Fire Network Media for the 21st century.